Hey y'all, welcome back to a new video. So today we're going to play around with what I call hacking your makeup. I love new makeup, but I also like customizing and finding ways to make my makeup more personalized. So I've got so much here to show. This might just be a pretty long video. I don't know. So what I have here, this is a palette that I bought secondhand. I don't know why. Maybe I had some FOMO. I think I had a plan for this, but we're going to depot this sucker. I'm going to show you how to depot one of these like heavy plastic palettes and then figure out if I want to save any of these shadows. We have some alchemy to do. We have some mixing. These are primers that I don't really use individually, but I'm wondering what would happen if I mixed them all together. This is a lip gloss that I hacked, and I'm really happy with the results. So we're going to do it again. I've got a brand new e.l.f. lip oil, and I've got the e.l.f. Squeeze Me lip balm. Yeah, we're gonna get these guys together. And it's pretty easy, but it really does make a difference, especially this Juvia's Place lip gloss was called Honeydew. And I had such hope that it would actually smell like honeydew, and it didn't. And that's where the e.l.f. came in. So we'll get into that. This is my old Charlotte Tilbury highlighter. I don't know if I'm going to pull anything out of this. We'll see. I thought about just, reassigning the highlighter, but I just repurchased this. And then we also have just some empty pans. So this is a really beautiful Japanesque compact. I want to say I got it for like $1 or $2 at TJ Maxx. It had a blush in it. The blush was beyond saving. So we're just going to repurpose the compact because it's really pretty. Same with this. I really like how thin and lightweight this packaging is. This is a palette that I somehow ended up with 2 of. These are really beautiful, but the pans are enormous. So we're going to play around with breaking some of these up and maybe mixing them with other stuff. We then have my declutter palettes. So if one of those shadows in like this palette is pretty, but I want to add some more brown to it, I can do that. You can really adjust color and temperature just by working some other stuff in. Same with these. This is from Sydney Grace. It's one of their highlighters in Pampered and Perfect. It's gorgeous, but it's just a little too dark. So I want to mix it with maybe a highlight, maybe a lighter shadow, and figure out what kind of color we can get. I hope you're all buckled in. Get a snack, get a cup of tea. Let's do this. All right, the first thing we're going to do is by far the easiest. So this is a brand new tube of the e.l.f. lip oil. It's clear. It has no fragrance. It's got a little bit of a minty something or other on the lips, but it's lovely. We're going to take the e.l.f. Squeeze Me and we're going to squeeze. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to displace some of the other lip oil. So what you may need to do is take something like a Q-tip to work it into the tube. So by doing this, you're displacing some of the clear and you're adding. So the reason that we're doing this is because I want a grape scented lip gloss that I like the formula. I don't love the formula of these Squeeze Me lip, what are these? Lip balms. They're really thick and they just don't feel good. They get really sticky around the inner corner. So you can see there, I've just filled in the top area with the balm. We're going to take our Q-tip and we're going to squeeze and we're going to push and we're going to mix. And you can see it's getting cloudy, it's turning purple. That is what I want. And we're going to go all the way down to the bottom because we want the whole thing integrated. And then when you put the dough foot back in here, again, you're going to have some displacement. It's going to leak. So you just need like a paper towel or a tissue to clean it off. I realize this is incredibly inelegant. I don't care. I don't care. All right. I think this Q-tip has just about had it. It smells really good though. It smells like grape candy. You will never make me mad with a grape candy scented lip balm. It's just something that I will always, as long as it's a decent formula. Okay, we're going to put the dough foot back in. So as I use this, I can refill it with some of this. This is really thick, so it is going to add a little bit more thickness to the lip oil. I don't mind. It's already a pretty thick formula. We don't have anything flowing over. Nice. There we go. Beautiful purple grape scented. Okay. In all honesty, mixing it with a minty lip oil like the e.l.f. was probably not the best idea. I should have gotten another one of the Juvia's Place because these don't have any mintiness to them. And I put the grape in and suddenly it smells like cough syrup. And I'm not sure how to fix that, but it's fine. I'll go with it. It's not a big deal. But that is how to like make your products, things that you don't necessarily like, make them work in a way that you can efficiently use them up without throwing them away. So you feel like you're actually getting your money's worth out of the things that you pay for. So that's the lip stuff. Let's move on because I've got other stuff to share. As I have discussed before, I am a big fan of reusing packaging. So this is a bottle that from a protein cocktail that I haven't used in years. And this is a bottle of micellar water. I don't like reaching for this thing all the time. It's heavy, it's cumbersome, and it's hard to not pour too much. I put it in a spray bottle and all of a sudden it just makes life so much easier. It's easy to pick up, it's lightweight, it's easy to maneuver. If you're somebody who has mobility issues, if you're somebody who has arthritis, if you're somebody who has issues with your hands, this is a fabulous way to not have to deal with heavy stuff. You depot it into something smaller that has an easier delivery mechanism. I do the same thing with my rubbing alcohol. This is an old MacFix Plus bottle. I labeled it in nail polish, not Sharpie. If you are labeling a cosmetic product that you are going to be touching and handling, don't label it in Sharpie. Sharpie is alcohol soluble and it rubs off. Nail polish is not. So this says RA for rubbing alcohol. I know not to spray this on my face, but we're going to use this when we start repressing stuff. And you're going to see that the sprayer makes a huge difference, humongous difference. One more depotting solution. This is the Rougher Rebalancing Essence. I love this stuff, but my pump does not work. It is stuck. And if I really like it doesn't push, it doesn't release. So I was at IKEA yesterday. I bought a 99-cent glass soap dispenser. It's not the most elegant solution, but we will see if this works because I haven't been using it due to the issue with the pump. All right, that fit all of it. Everything from this bottle fit in here. Let's open up the twister and see what the delivery is like. Ooh, okay. That's nice. One little pump gives me just enough for my hands, my arms, my face. And now I can use this up without spending an extra $10 for a new pump. I might at some point replace this pump, but that is what I'm trying to avoid. I spent a lot less money. I didn't have to wait for shipping, and I have a reasonable solution. So what I can do is make a label and just stick it to the front, masking tape, shipping labels, whatever you've got on hand, so I can label this and I know what it is. But again, another easy solution to hack your skincare, your makeup, all of your products so you can actually use them up and enjoy them without the problems, without the usability issues. Okay, let's get to the fun stuff. We're going to destroy things, plain and simple. So this palette, I see two ways of destroying this palette. All right, so the thing about this palette that you have to know is that there is a seam all the way around the palette, and that is the area that holds the shadows. You are seeing my incredibly messy space. So what you want to do, what you want is a cosmetic spatula, something small, narrow. If you have like a small awl from a sewing table, an X-Acto blade, just be careful and don't destroy your hands. I'm going to zoom you in as much as I can. All right. This one will be later. So what I'm going to do is find a seam opening. Aha. I'm hearing cracking. That's good. And you're just going to gently go in and loosen the upper part of the palette from the base of the palette. Okay, that's one side. Oh, that's a good sign. Look at that. All right, so let's go around the back and we'll do the same thing. We're going to go in between those layers. I'm not hearing any cracking. That's, there we go. So what's cracking, what you're hearing popping, are the anchor points around the edge of the palette. Oh, I bet my spatula. I don't like that. No, you go back into shape. Aha. There we go. That's it. So what you could, in theory, do with this is get a thin magnetic sheet. You can usually find them at hardware stores, and you could make this into a magnetic palette if you wanted to. What I will probably do with this is put it in my gym bag as like a small mirror so that I can just use it as a mirror compact. It is a little chunky and I really don't like this 3D top. I might be able to just put this in a pack collective box at Ulta and just let them recycle it because I've already removed the part that really needs to be cleaned out. They will separate the mirror and the packaging and all of that. That is what I'm going to do with this palette. I'm not going to take it with me. It's just not worth it. However, we now have these to address. So if we look at the back, you can see that there are individual wells for each eyeshadow. You've got a couple different ways that you can go about removing these eyeshadows from the palette. You can either pop them out with rubbing alcohol. So you insert a little bit of rubbing alcohol around the edges and let it sink in and try to dissolve the glue. I don't like that because then you have to go in with the spatula and you have to pry the pan out and you risk breaking the shadow. So there's another way that I like to do it, and that is using fire. So the first thing you want is something metal. Don't do this on wood. Don't do it on plastic. Don't do it on anything that has a polyurethane finish. It's just not going to be good. I have here a small candle with a very small wick. So while this warms up, I do want to show an example of just reusing the outer case instead of popping the shadows out. This was a Too Faced palette that I got in a subscription box. The palette itself was crap. I did not want to pass these eyeshadows on to anybody. However, the container, the packaging, the palette, the actual physical mirror is great. It's a good size. It sits up. And it's pretty easy to toss in my bag if I'm going somewhere for the weekend and I just need to take a small mirror. I love this option because it reduces waste and you get to destroy the entire palette. That was fun because it was ugly and they were terrible colors and it smelled weird and I did not want to give that to anybody. I'm just using the mirror and I think that is a perfectly acceptable solution. Candle's got a bit of a flame. All right, so what you want to do is one at a time, one or two at a time. I find that doing two and moving it over the candle really helps. What we're going to do is melt this just enough so that A, the glue melts, and B, the plastic starts to shrivel up and becomes a little bit more malleable. And then we can just push the pan through the plastic compartment. I have a paper towel here for shadow position because they're probably going to have glue on the bottom and we're going to have to clean them up with rubbing alcohol, but I don't want to be working with rubbing alcohol around an open flame. That's not my jam. So we're going to do these two guys in the corner and all I'm going to do is hold them over the flame and I'm just going to gently move back and forth. Now, I'm impatient. I like to go about 1 inch to 1.5 inches over the flame. I have seen people do this for 2 or 3 minutes with a higher flame. I don't have the patience for that. I want to get these out and move on with my life. Okay, it is starting to warm up and I'm starting to feel the plastic. So there are a couple ways that you can do this if you don't want to use fire. You can aim a hairdryer at the back of this for a couple of minutes and it will heat up the entire palette so you can loosen the glue so you can take out the shadows. I've also heard of people setting the palette itself on a flat iron, like a hair straightener. I have not had success with that method. I have tried it and it just doesn't work for me. Okay, I'm starting to smell something. Oh, that's hot. So you can't really, you'll know it's ready when this starts to like wrinkle up and shrivel. And you do want to be working with a small candle. You're not going to use one of those, you're not going to want to use one of those big 3-wick Bath and Body Works candles. Something small like a tea light, something contained in a jar. You know, that is far preferable. Far preferable. It's better. It's easier to contain, it's easier to maintain. And when the jar is empty, you just put a new tea light in there. Or a votive, not a tea. Either way. Whatever it is you've got, as long as it's not a big 3-wick candle and you're gonna start a huge fire. All right, so we're not there yet. It definitely feels warm, and you'll start to smell it. It'll smell like burning plastic. So make sure that you're doing this in a well-ventilated area. You know, you don't want to be doing this on your bed. I have done that before, and I've been okay, but I have almost not been okay. So, you know, set yourself up for success. Do this on a table. Make sure you've got something metal underneath and give yourself time. You don't need to rush this, because if you rush it, chances are you're going to break something or burn something. Oh my God, this thing is, I'm just going to put it right over the candle. I don't want to smother the flame. Oh, I'm making turkey stock downstairs and it smells amazing. I'm just going to let it sit there for a moment until I start to smell it, and you'll hear it a little bit. You'll hear like a slight crackling from the back of the palette, from the plastic. Yeah, you see that? That's what we're looking for. That little bit of shriveling. So we're going to use that and push. And there you go. The pan comes out. Oops. And I just wrecked it. It's fine. So what you want is to push the pan out just enough so you can release it. Now, the pans are going to be hot. Be careful. Be very careful. If you have the ability to, it's great. It's better to position the candle between two shadows than directly underneath one, because you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. It's just a little bit more efficient. Right there, that corner is starting to bubble. I want to be using my regular tool for this. I don't want to be using my pretty multi-chrome. I can replace this easily, but I still love it, and I'm not willing to destroy it. This is a good time to have like a movie or a book or a podcast, something on that's like entertaining your brain while you're doing this with your hands, because this can get a bit tedious. I depotted, I'd say about 25 to 30 palettes in 2020. Okay, I smell. Are we actually? Not quite. Not quite. Yeah, so in 2020, I depotted most of my eyeshadow palettes and was working with singles until I decided to slowly start incorporating palettes back into my makeup using life. And I will tell you, the absolute worst palettes I have ever depotted are Anastasia Beverly Hills. I depotted the Soft Glam. I depotted the Norvina. I don't think I depotted Modern Renaissance. Oh, there we go. You can see how easy that was to push out. Come on. Sometimes they don't want to come fully out, so you've got to either give them a little bit more heat or time or manpower. Just brute force, but be careful, because those pans were just over a flame and they're hot. So as you pull these out, you might have some stickiness on the back. These are actually coming out beautifully. I'm not getting a lot of the adhesive. There's a little bit on the edge of that pan. I do not know if these are magnetic. That one has some adhesive. We can either use rubbing alcohol or nail polish remover to break that down. These guys are getting nice and wrinkly. That's what we want. So we just, ooh, that's the softest one yet. Here's it coming. All right, last two. While that last one is working, we're going to check to see if these are magnetic. That one's still hot. They are. Look at that. Oh, that's delightful. Oh, that makes me so happy. It means I don't have to attach magnets to the bottom to get them in a palette. Although this palette may be too small. Yeah, this palette's too small. It's fine. I'll find another one. I had too much caffeine today and I have been doing Thanksgiving prep. Okay. These are, oh, look at that one. That one's a little toasty. Ooh, yeah, that's a bit extreme. There we go. That's all 12 shadows out of one palette. Pretty easy. It takes a little while, takes a little patience, but there you go. And I'm not going to swatch these. I'm not going to do anything with them right now. I will have to come back tomorrow and finish this because I am done for today. I need to go take my turkey stock off the stove and figure out dinner. There you go, y'all. Really easy way to reduce clutter and make your makeup much more user-friendly and much more customizable. That will do it for today's section. I will be back tomorrow to do some more. I've been really looking forward to filming this and I'm having fun. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. Hey y'all, so it is day 2. I'm back. Something occurred to me when I finished filming yesterday. If you do not have a small candle like one of these, this is a candle that I've had forever. This is a Yahrzeit candle. You can usually get these in the kosher section in most grocery stores. They're meant to be memorial candles, but you can use them for just about anything, and they're a really good size for depotting makeup. So another little hack that does not cost much money. All right, so today, I think the first thing I want to do is get like mad scientist, chemist, alchemist on these 3 primers. I'm just going to go ahead and use the same spatula I used yesterday. I'll go ahead and just sanitize it and clean it off with some rubbing alcohol, because rubbing alcohol in a spray bottle. It's fabulous. And I'm not sure what I'm expecting here. So will you make up your minds? Where are you going? Thank you for settling. Okay. The preschool teacher in me is coming out. So this primer I've had for a very long time and is actually on the chopping block as far as being decluttered at the end of this year. So if I muck it up, there's not much in there and I'm not that concerned about it. So I'm gonna do, I don't know, just a little pumpity pump of this uh, illuminating primer from Rare Beauty. And I feel like the putty texture of the Tatcha is kind of dried out. So we're gonna add just a smidge, just a couple quick drops of the milk Hydro Grip. And let's see where that gets us. So if you are unfamiliar with the Silk Canvas Primer, it is one of those like silicone pore filling primers that's supposed to smooth. I never really found much benefit from using it as a primer, but I've used it to kind of like spackle in areas that look dry and rough, like my under eyes, especially if I've used too much concealer or too much powder. All right, so the texture is very different from what it was. I guess I should have swatched it before, but it's a little stickier, but it's also got a little bit more emollients to it. It's slipperier. And we're gonna see. Ooh, okay. Look at how like nice and pore filling and illuminating that is. You really can see the difference. Wow. Okay. That might just get used up on its own. I want a little bit more radiance to it, so I am going to add just a smidge more of the Rare Beauty. I'm just going to go ahead and mix this with my hands. It is the day before Thanksgiving. I just got back from Target, which was like, yeah, in the festive spirit. All right, let's see. Wow. So it's a little bit more blurring than the Auric Glow Lust. It's also not as bright. Oh, that is nice. So that is, an easy, really effective way to fine tune a product that maybe has been sitting around for a long time and has just a little bit left and you're not sure if you're going to use it or how to use it. If the formula has changed, if it's dried out a little bit, if it smells weird, or if it has a weird texture, toss it. But this was neither. I took a good whiff before I put it in this video. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. It smells like it always has. So there we go. That's interesting. I have also taken like liquidy primers and put them into other products that I want to finish and I want to get every last drop out of. So that's done. Hey, let's figure out where we're going from here. I may not have pulled this for the intro. This is an Ulta Beauty shadow that I just featured in my like holiday singles video and it's not available anymore. I'm so sorry. It is one of the shiniest, flakiest, hardest formulas I've ever worked with. And I honestly have been wondering if maybe adding some oil and a little bit of rubbing alcohol might help it bind to itself a little bit better. So we're gonna give that a whirl. I'm just gonna leave it right in the pan. And I've got some spray alcohol here, so we're just gonna spritz this pretty liberally. I'm gonna make sure it gets all the way down to the bottom. And I'm just gonna fold a paper towel and really push it, press on it. So if you've never repressed makeup before, the only thing you really need is rubbing alcohol. And then you just need to let it sit and dry. So make sure you've saturated your piece of makeup really well. And if you have, oh, let me see here. I don't know if this will work. This is one of the scattered lights from Hourglass. What I wanted was the little plunger, because sometimes that will, oh, you know what? I don't think it's going to fit inside the lip of the container. I was going to use it as like a pressing disc. Okay, that's not going to work. Trial and error, friends. It's all about trial and error. The worst that can happen is this doesn't do anything and I still have to deal with this like delicate, really flaky, really shiny eyeshadow. Oh no. How sad for me. Oh no. I'm going to leave this open so that it can dry completely. If you cover this when it's still wet, you risk growing bacteria. Okay, I think I figured out what I want to do with this. I am going to knock out this highlighter and I'm going to repress this. So this highlighter, I'm not all that chuffed about destroying. I've already replaced mine. But I am going to keep it, just keep it out on the table in case I have like a blush or something that I want to mix it with to kind of neutralize and soften. There we go, completely empty compact. I love that. And then if there's like cheek products, if there's like a blush and highlighter duo that I want to put in here, I can do that too. These are also just containers. This is a palette that's not very big. All right, that's gonna stay over there. Let's swatch this guy and figure out what I want to do with it. So as I said before, I've had this palette before, and I went through the process of not just depotting these, but splitting them into multiple pans. And it just wasn't worth it for me. But if you have people who really like these colors, it might be worth it. Let me pull out the couple of cheek products that I wanted to play with, and we'll see if those will help add anything. All right, so this is the one that I've kind of had my sights set on. I also want to play with this. This is a NARS blush. It's really beautiful. It's a powder formula, but it's just kind of there. I feel like the formula's gotten patchier as I've had it longer. So I don't know if I want to really give it a second chance, because if the pigment and the oils have already gone off, then there's very little chance of rescuing them. However, I do have these 3 little pans, so I can play. I can really decide what I want to mix into this larger pan to make it worthwhile. I actually think these 2 pans are from this palette. I think so, but I may have pressed them harder. Actually, I think I'm going to take that one out and it'll be one that we use. This is a blush, very neutral, very light. It's honestly kind of between a blush and a highlight. And I might want to try mixing that in to neutralize and desaturate this color. It's still really pretty and it's gigantic. So again, we'll do some experimentation. And you know what? for set experimentation, I'm just going to go ahead and use the wells in this empty palette and really figure out what I want to do before I finalize and make the decision. I don't know. We're literally just playing. We're not doing anything serious. We're not taking it or ourselves too serious. So this is called Pampered and Perfect. It's a highlighter and it's just a highlighter. It's a highlighter from Sydney Grace. I think this came in a mystery box. It's so pretty. Look at that. It is so pretty. It's raisin, but it's got a lot of gold, which is not a color that I wear a lot of. And I have chosen a bunch of highlighters and other products to mix into this that are going to help counteract that gold. I'm also thinking about this Kaleidos highlighter because it is so white. It's a very white highlight. And then maybe one of these ABH guys. Oh, that's got some more rosiness. That's got more of a pink shift. Yes. All right. I think we have our candidates figured out. I'm not going to do anything with this right now. Maybe later. I don't know. It might just not get used. All right. So what we need is our spray bottle of rubbing alcohol. And I have, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 different. So we're just gonna take like a swipe into each of these wells. All right. It's messy, very messy, but that's okay. We can get messy. It's fine. All right. So we're going to mix in a little bit of Made Me Do It to that one. And I'm going to line these up in the order that I scrape them into the wells. So we have, so this is a Kaleidos highlighter. It's in Solar something, Solar Surfer. It's one of those big highlighters that come in a like gigantic box. First thing I did when I got those highlighters was depot them. I'm doing like a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm trying to get like as much of the other products mixed in. And I don't think I'm going to press them. I think I'm just going to mix them up. Oop, well, we have pan. I think in the end, I'm just going to end up dumping these into a bowl and just mixing them all together. I don't see that being bad. But we gotta start with some experimentation just for the fun of it. Man, I think this is actually eyeshadow that I depotted from a Kaleidos palette. It's stiff. Okay. I'm gonna try and mix these up individually. Okay. Let's swatch each of these now that I've kind of mixed them up. That's kind of pretty. It's a little bit more icy than something I would use on a regular basis. Our goal is to figure out what I can mix into this that is going to make it a little more user friendly and something that works on my very pale skin. I don't know if I like any of those. They all seem rather milquetoast. Everything magnetic is trying to mate. So that was, what was that? I think it was that one. No. That one went there. That one went there. That was in the corner. That explains why it's so shiny, because it's got the shine particles from that too. Highlighter. These feel like they barely had any of that dark pigment mixed in. I'm gonna add some more and see how that just counterbalances. Okay, that's brought it back down a little bit. I don't know. All right, executive decision. Woo, look at that pretty messy table. We love a messy table. All right, this is my dish. It's just a glass insert from a coaster, but it's good for this. Arg. We're gonna mix this up. I'm gonna break it apart. Make sure it's all mixed in together. First thing I want to do is take one of these empty pans and just mix one pan of this stuff. In here. So I don't have that ginormous pan, but I still have the option to use this unadulterated. It hasn't been mixed with anything. I'm gonna pack that in there just using my fingers. With apologies to Gordon Lightfoot. Okay. So that is as pressed into the pan as I can get it with just my hands. Use a little piece of paper towel and press it so that the alcohol absorbs into the paper towel. There we go, a nice little small pan of that, because it is gorgeous. It is really a gorgeous powder. It's just so much of it all at once. And then I'm going to take all of these. I'm going to take all of these and dump. All right, now I just have to clean that out and I can put it back in my travel case. I don't know what I'm doing with this right now. I really don't. Maybe I just want to take the rest of this highlighter. Sure. If it doesn't work, I can just toss the entire thing. I'm not concerned about it. But it's a nice highlighter, and it's I'm gonna just work this in with my fingers and break up any bits. You know what? That did a nice job neutralizing it and making it something that I'm much more comfortable working with. I'm happy with that. I want something that's going to help bring back the richness without necessarily bringing in gold. So let me see what I've got in my drawers that I'm comfortable breaking up in here. I mean, I've got this guy that might help. I don't know that I want anything super shimmery or sparkly. You know what could help? This is Diamond Dog from Urban Decay. This is, it's grungy in a way that I thought I liked. I don't love this shade, but I feel like it could add a lot to this. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut about half of this into there. And then this is from Nabla. This is Juno Moon. It's got that purple, but it doesn't have that gold base. So we're going to scrape a little of that into there because why not? Life is short. Experiment while you can. And then this is going to bring back some of that rich purple raisin tone without adding more shimmer. I'm pretty sure this is just a color pop single. Something I depotted. All right. Let's mix this up and see what we got. So it's still going to have that unctuous purple raisin base, but I think I've added in enough champagne and enough cool tones that it's going to counteract all of the gold. I hope. We'll see. All right. That's encouraging. It's really pretty. It reminds me of a shadow that's already in here, also from Sydney Grace. Oh, start somewhere. Ah, excuse you. Everybody wants to join the party. Okay, what I'm going to do is add some of this in there because it's got that purple base with a little bit more of a cool tone. I've noticed that I've lost that rich purple and I want to bring it back. This is also another good place to go. This is one day at a time. I am not being discriminate about how much I add. I'm just adding what I feel like is the correct amount. Oh, that's interesting. It's got this gray purple, but it's much brighter. It's not as dingy. I think I want some dinge. So I think in order to get that without adding any more shimmer, I'm going to go into this dark, rich purple. All right. That's better. Brought back some of that rich purple tone without bringing in the gold. I like that. Okay. We have to take an animal to the vet. And yesterday she got out of it. So today we're not even bringing it up. I said the word vet and my fury fella, who's always in here with me when I'm working, just looked at me like, wait, what? All right, we're going to put this in the cup or in the dish. So now I have to figure out where I want to repress this. Do I want to repress it in a pan or do I want to repress it into a compact? I think I want to use this compact. That way it's got a little bit more specialness. and either I'll forget it exists or I'll reach for it all the time. So I'm going to very much saturate this with alcohol. And the reason I do that is because there's so many different formulas in here now. I really want I want an amalgam of all of the formulas I've put in here. And the only way to really get them to stick is to just saturate the ever-loving dickens out of them. I think this needs just a touch more alcohol. All right. So I've got it in the pan. I'm using the tool to press everything into the edges. When you're repressing makeup, you really want to make sure your edges and your corners are covered. All right, I'm going to go in with my fingers and level everything out. Make sure there's more product around the edges so that it's stable, because repressed makeup tends to break easier. And I've noticed that a lot of the times with my makeup, it's because I haven't been diligent about making sure these edges are covered. So we're going to add a little bit more on top. And I'm just going to use my fingers to press that in. Make sure to build up the areas that are a little shallow. And then I'm going to also like circle around it to smooth the whole thing out, make it, it's not going to be pretty. We've got this really beautiful grubby raisin shade. That's interesting. I will be interested to see how often I reach for it. And if I don't reach for it, all I have to do is knock the powder, I can speak right now, is knock the powder out of this little compact and I can keep the compact. And then I have another large empty pan and I have this thing that's messy. So after pressing it in with my hands, I'm going to press it in with the paper towel and just make sure all of that alcohol starts to evaporate. All right. I think I need to clean up my mess. Maybe clean up my mess. So we've done depotting. I still want to do some makeup alchemy with these guys. So maybe we'll do that when I get back. All right, so we have, let me put these on something so that they don't get stuff all over my table. There we go. All right, so we have a gold flaky eyeshadow that I honestly feel like pressing was a good decision. It feels like it's harder. We'll see what it's like when it dries. That right there is going to be the kicker. That is still resplendent in all of its beauty. And then we have this that we've just completely I love this stuff. So my knowledge of color theory did work. What I didn't account for was the shine factor. This had a lot more gold. I was trying to counteract it with cooler tones. And I did neutralize it, but it is very gray. So we will see how that works. I think it has the prospect of being really beautiful. Let's go ahead and swatch these, and I'll make a decision if I want to do anything destructive to them. I probably will, because I know that they're not, I swatched them yesterday. They're not the best formulas. They feel a little dry. Some of them feel like they've sealed up on themselves. This one I'd really like to figure out a solution to bring it back to life. It reminds me of Lounge by Urban Decay. It's got that like grubby red green thing that I really love in that eyeshadow. My brain is all a Twitter with ideas. And this blue, I'm honestly wondering if I just want to keep this blue. I don't have a royal blue like that. I think it's more like a cerulean, but it's a true blue, whereas the others that I have are more in the teal and the green families. I gotta tell you, I swatched these last night and I was pretty impressed with these mattes. They're smooth, they're even, they're soft, and they're really beautifully blurring. Even this purple grayish, it looks really scary, but on the skin, it just blends out to this beautiful cool toned neutral. Peach, same thing. They're just, they're nice. Now, the one that I had a lot of problems with last night after I depotted that palette was this like terracotta brown. Maybe I picked up too much. Maybe my arm was wet, because that's perfect. That's great. You know, it doesn't pack a huge punch, but it doesn't need to, because it's present. It just needs to show up. It doesn't have to be. All right. So the blue, I think I've decided I'm going to keep, and I might not adulterate it. Let's see what else we've got in this pile. Ooh, shimmery, icy pink. That's pretty. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Like actual forest green. Some of these are kind of on the nose, but as far as my collection goes, I don't think I have a whole lot of true tones. I tend to go for stuff that's a little different, and occasionally I want something like this. Occasionally I want to do a dupe a palette. I want to dupe a palette that has like a true green and a blue like the Danessa Myricks, and I just didn't have that stuff to play with. This one I don't particularly like. I really don't. No. That's like a purple gray tone with silver sparkle. Now, this one is really interesting. It's like an ice blue, and that in and of itself should disqualify it from staying in my collection. But it's so cool. It's so shiny and weird. I like shiny and weird. And then this is that last one that I already swatched, which is really different from the rest of these. And I'm honestly thinking if all I do is break this up and mix it with some rubbing alcohol and repress it, that might give it the little bit of boost it needs to kind of come back to life. You can see it's sealed. It's got this like flat shiny piece right there, and it's sealed up on itself, which is, someone, from digging fingers in, and there could be too much oil in the formula, but I want to find a way to try and resurrect it. I'm going to pop the rest of these that I'm going to keep and play with. So the play withs come over here. And I think I want to keep the green and the blue and possibly the weird ice blue, because why not? And if I haven't used them in 6 to 8 months, they'll get decluttered, because I do single eyeshadow purges pretty frequently. So the last time you saw these, they were just pressed and they were wet, and now they're not. They're dry. I have swatched this one. I haven't swatched either of these. This seems to have formed beautifully. It didn't split. It's got a really nice consistency, and I'm willing to bet it could almost be used like just by itself. It's very blurring. It's got a fair amount of glow, but it's not obnoxious. It's not going to pick up texture because it's got the silicone from the Tatcha primer, but it's also got that gripping stuff from the milk. So I will be interested to see how this wears both by itself and with, under, around, and over other makeup. But that is the update on this guy. So we will move him out of the way. Let's go ahead. I'm going to scooch these over. We'll address these momentarily. So this is that very loose, flaky single shadow that I did add a fair amount of rubbing alcohol to, and I pressed it really hard because this is such a light, flaky formula that it makes it so much easier. Why didn't I do this a while ago? Because this is what has been preventing me from using this on a regular basis, especially when I want something really gleamy, but not too much color. This is gorgeous. And now that it is pressed, it seems like it's going to be easier to use. The question is, once this starts rolling around with my single eyeshadows, is it going to disperse again? Is it going to break apart into that loose, flaky mess again? So that right there is the question, and I don't have an answer to it right now. I will have to see how it works and then maybe do a follow-up video to this a little bit later on. All right, this is our Franken product. I don't know if it's a blush, I don't know if it's an eyeshadow, but whatever it is, it's beautiful. I mean, it's a powder that, can be used on the face. And I feel like if it wasn't so shiny, I could almost use it as a contour, but it does have a fair amount of reflectivity. So it might be like a blush topper that reads a little bit more cool toned. I don't know if it's going to read like a bruise, but again, we'll all have to play with it on camera and see what happens. It's really nice though. I like it a lot better after mixing it with some more neutralizing tones. This is the original. I kept a small pan of the original to kind of compare. And I really liked the color. I just wasn't going to use a pan that big. It was a gigantic pan. So that was what it was originally, and that's where it is now. It's both cooler and more neutral, where this is a warmer, like burgundy raisin with a gold reflect. This one is much more neutral and it has more of that champagne, if not like cooler white flash to it. I'm excited to see where these both fit into my makeup collection. That's going to be fun going forward. And this Japanesque compact finally gets to be used. It's been sitting around for ages. I knew I had stuff that I would have something I wanted to press into this. This can just go into my magnetic palette with my single eyeshadows. Last order of business before we wrap up this video. These are eyeshadows that I depotted from the Urban Decay Stoned Vibes palette. And the only shadow in here that I really want to like break apart and repress and see what happens is this one. And that is because this is the kind of shadow that I find myself being drawn towards. So this one is kind of sealed over, which I don't love, and I'm hoping repressing it will fix that. It's also very stiff, but look at the color. Look at the color. It's beautiful. I also am going to press it into a round pan instead of a square pan. This is just what I prefer. Square pans get in my way. So we're going to break this up. I have here a spray bottle of rubbing alcohol. Let's move that out of the way. And somewhere around here, I have a cosmetic spatula. So I'm just going to break this into, this by the way is just the lid to one of my prescription eye drop boxes. I save them and then use them for storage and all kinds of stuff. So I want to really break this apart. And because it's not very much, it should easily just be spread out. So there we go. I feel like that is adequately broken up. And now we're just gonna dust it with some rubbing alcohol. So this is where a formula can change in being repressed. You can either press it lightly so that you get more of the pigment, more of that color, or you can press it harder. If it's just a little too light, you can apply more pressure. All right, I guess we're knocking out onto the paper towel. All right, I actually need something more substantial. Okay, this might work better. This is just a silicone thing. It's supposed to be used for like face masks and skincare. I have one that I use for that. This was actually my backup. It was in a box of stuff that I used to take to my now ex's house, and I'd forgotten it was in that box. So let's see what we can do as far, oh yeah, that's a lot better. So I'm just going back and forth, trying to get as much of the product scraped back into the pan and not like stuck in this lid or in the paper towel. And at some point, we're just going to have to, pull everything together. There we go. So I think this tool has done its job. I will keep this on hand for destroying makeup purposes. So now I'm going to go around the edge of the pan with my finger, and I don't want this pressed too hard. I have a feeling that's why it was so sealed over. It was a little harder to pick up product. So I was like really pressing in there with my finger and depositing more oil. So I'm not going to press too hard. I'm going to press gently, but not super hard. And then we're just going to leave this out and let her dry. So there we go. There's another eyeshadow just transferred from, I don't know where the pan went. Oh, there it is. Transferred from a square pan where it was probably pressed too hard into a round pan where it will work with my singles collection much better. Okay, y'all. All right, y'all. I hope you had fun with this. Just a handful of ways that you can really take a makeup collection that is maybe not fitting so well into what you want or need, and ways that you can go around adjusting and fixing things without buying anything extra. I hope y'all are taking extra good care of yourself so you can take care of each other, and I'll see y'all in my next one. Bye, friends. Bork, 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 bork. Chicky and the basky. 2 points.